May there be no rejection at all. As I am engaged in experiencing this truth in this life, may all the virtues described in the Upanishads come to me and stay with me. All the virtues such as truthfulness, strength, purity, and straightforwardness, may all those good qualities come to me and stay with me as I am engaged in this lofty effort of knowing the self and experiencing it in this life. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Last time we were studying verse number 7 in chapter 5, where Bhagavan Shri Krishna has explained that how a person can become free from the bondage of work, karma, and karma phala, fruit of work. Fruit and work. 4 things have been mentioned in that verse. All of these have come before and they will come again. There is a lot of repetition because of its importance. These ideas are important, so they come again and again. So the 4 qualities are in verse number 7. Yoga Yuktaha, a person who is steadfastly engaged in the practice of yoga. Not intermittently, but steadfastly. That is important. Anything that we do must be done like that. Intermittently, if you do something, it will not produce maximum result. Yoga Yuktaha. Second quality is Vishuddhatma. Your Atma means mind. Mind must be pure. A person whose mind is pure, free from all impure thoughts, anger, jealousy, lust, greed. Those things should not be there. Third quality is Vijitatma. Atma here means the body. Mind must be pure, body must be pure. And fourth quality is Jitendriyaha, one whose sense organs are under control. All the 5 sense organs are going in different directions. That's the natural tendency. But a spiritual seeker must control all the sense organs and direct them towards one goal in which we are engaged at this time. When all these things are done, that person realizes that the same self resides in everybody. One self, one Atman, present in all the bodies without exception. There's nothing in which the self is not present. Animals, plants, inanimate objects, people, good people, bad people, men, women, all nationalities. In all of them, the same self is present. That is the one thing in Vedanta we have to understand, comes again and again. Basis of all Vedantic thinking, one reality present in all, appearing as all. Sarabhuta Atma Bhuta Atma, such a person, Kurvannapi Nalipyate, even if he is engaged in action, such people, their action is mostly for helping other people. They don't have anything to gain in a selfish way. They don't do anything with a selfish motive. Whatever they do is only for the good of others. And they are not attached to the karma or the fruit of action. They are not expecting any benefit, visibility or fame or any reward for their work. Without being seen by others, unbeknownst to the rest of the world, silently they work very hard for the well-being of all other beings. They don't seek publicity. We don't know. Such people are there. Such people are unaffected by karma phala. Now we come to pair of verses 8 and 9, which are very important. This topic has come before in the 4th chapter. How a person can see inaction in action. 18th verse in 4th chapter. Karmanya karmaya pashyet akarmani cha karmaya. That verse is studied. Now the same idea is expanded, made clearer in these two verses, 8 and 9 in chapter 5. Very important verses. Not very difficult to understand. The topic has already come before. So let us do the verses 8 and 9. They are always studied together. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrunvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrijan grinhan innishan unmishan nimishan napi indriyanendriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. A tattvavit. You see the word tattvavit at the end of the first line. Such a person, one who knows the truth. Tattva means the truth. Ultimate truth is reality, Brahman. Tat means Brahman. Tattvavit means a person who knows Brahman. Brahmajnani was achieved the status of a Brahmajnani by virtue of yoga practice. Any yoga, all lead to the same result. Karma yoga and Raja yoga, Jnana yoga, I am Brahman, like that. Even Bhakti yoga leads to Brahma Jnana. Sri Ramakrishna has said in the Gospel, even those who practice devotion, Bhakti yoga, they also can gain Brahma Jnana. So such a person who has achieved the self-knowledge is called as Tattvavit. Such a person, Tattvavit, what does such a person do? He or she thinks, Naiva kinchit karomi, I'm not doing anything at all. He makes a statement like that. Such a person, I'm not doing anything. That means they don't feel that they're doing any work. They don't have the sense of doership, kartrutva, kartapan in Hindi. We all have kartrutva. I am doing this, I'm talking now, I'm eating, I'm walking. That I am doing something is very strong feeling in our minds. But such people don't have that feeling. They're doing work, but it's for them, it's as if nothing is being done. Just work happens spontaneously, work happens through them, through their body, mind, but they don't feel that much attached or involved in that activity. Naiva kinchit karami, I'm not doing anything. Say such a person. Tattvavit. Yuktaha. Yukta means one who has practiced yoga. Yoga, yukta. Now, when such a person makes a statement, I'm not doing anything, actually they are very active, more active than ordinary people. Like Swami Vivekananda, he used to work so many hours, he hardly any time to sleep. So much work he did, but still he did not have the feeling that I am the doer, I must get the benefit, I'm helping other people. That feeling was not. The work happens through them. So they're also active. What kind of activity jnanis do? Same kind of activity ajnanis do. Activities are the same. For example, 13 activities are mentioned in the second and third lines. Things that we all do, everybody does. Jnanis, ajnanis, everybody without exception, everybody does these kind of activities. What are the activities? Pashyan, seeing, Shrinvan, hearing, Sprishan, touching, Jigran, smelling, Ashnan, eating, Gachan, going someplace, Shwapan, sleeping, Shwasan, breathing, Pralapan, speaking, Visrijan, releasing, Grinhan, holding things, Grinhan, Unmishan, Nimishan, opening and closing the eyes, blink. All these activities Everybody does without exception. But jnanis say, I'm not doing anything. Naiva kinchit karomi. But they don't have the feeling of kartritva. It's happening, work is happening, and they don't, we have the feeling of kartritva, I'm doing this one. That is not there in their minds. Then if you ask such a person, sir or madam, you're doing all, you're talking, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're walking, how can you say you're not doing anything? You can ask that question. So what does such a person replies? Last line. Such a person says, Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. All actions are happening between sense organs and sense objects. Indriyani means sense organs, 10 sense organs. Mind also, 11 sense organs. Indriyartha means sense objects. They interact. Action is happening. Where is the I? They think they are the Atman. They are not the body, mind, sense organs. So they don't have the involvement. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. All actions are happening at the sense organ, sense object level. But they are not identifying themselves as sense organ, sense object in the body. They think they are the Atman. Tattvavit means they are Atman, Brahmajnanis. They don't have that much attachment to the body. Body is there as an instrument or as a garment, but I am not the garment. This idea has come before in the second chapter, if you remember. In the second chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, to the jnanis, the body is like a garment, just like this chadar I am wearing. Where does it come, you remember? Shloka number 22 in second chapter, 222. Easy to remember. There, Sri Krishna said, this body is like a garment, and the Atman is the wearer of the garment. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sangyati navani dehi. There in that verse 222, Sri Krishna had said that body, mind, sense organs are all like a garment. Vasamsi means garments. And when one garment becomes old, worn out, cannot be used anymore, it is cast aside, a new garment is put on. Navani vasamsi jirnani grin. Navani vasamsi grinnati. New garments. Like one body becomes old, cannot function anymore, it is cast aside. Atman takes a new body, baby's new infant's body. Journey continues. So like that, for a jnani, body is like a garment. So work is happening at the body, mind, sense organ level, but the Atman remains unaffected. Atmajnanis can only say that one. I am not doing anything. Action is happening through their bodies and minds. And all those actions are only for loka sangraha, helping other people, not for any selfish motive, with any selfish motive. So that is that. Shloka number 8 and 9. How a jnani transcends the notion of doership, kartritvam. If there is no kartritvam, there is no bhoktritvam. If there is no action, there is no result of action also. They are not subject to the fruit of action. So they are free. They have become free from the bondage of action, karma, karma phala. That is too high an ideal for us to practice right now. For example, I cannot say I am not the body. Theoretically, I have read I am not the body, I am the Atman. We all have. But I don't have the experience of not being body. I don't have Brahma Jnana experience. So what should I do? I cannot say I'm not doing the work. I cannot say. It won't be right. So what is the way for people like us? We discussed this before. There are several ways in which we can tackle this question. How should I relate to my work? Several things can be done. First thing is, I can still keep the I. I can't give up the I so easily. I let the I be there. Sri Ramakrishna said, let the I be as a ripe ego. Ripe ego means I'm a servant of God. I'm a child of God. I'm a devotee of God. I'm doing all my work as a servant, as a devotee, as a caretaker, as a custodian. I'm doing all these activities. I is still there. I'm doing, but only as a servant. All these things we discuss are as an instrument in the hands of God. All these options we have, we discuss before, they will come again also. So we can take any of those attitudes. All these are described in several places. One shloka I will suggest that you all pay special attention to. That is 330, chapter 3, verse 30. 5 instructions are given in that verse. So there, the first instruction is, whatever work we do it as an offering to God. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. Sri Krishna says, whatever action you do, sarvani karmani, all actions you do, mai sanyasya, offer it to me, offer it to God. Why? He doesn't need our actions. So that I can become free from attachment to that action. That's all. That's the meaning of offering. Not that he needs our action. If I offer something, I'm free from attachment to that. If I give a gift to somebody, it's no longer mine, and there's no attachment to that anymore. I'm free. Like that work is to be done as an offering. It comes in several places. Or as a servant. That also comes in 330. Brityaiva Ishwaraya Brityaiva Sarvani Karmani Karomi. Commentary Shankara says. For Ishvara, for the Lord, Britya means a servant, Sevaka, Sevak. As a servant, I am doing all actions. Not for my sake. As Hanuman was doing all actions for Sri Ramachandra. He was not seeking any fame or reward. Out of pure love, servant like Hanuman serving the Prabhu, Lord Sri Rama. Similarly, Latu Maharaj and also Advaitananda, about whom you don't hear much. He was known as Elder Gopal. His name was Gopal Ghosh. And he became a sannyasi very late in age. He was a married person. This Advaitananda Maharaj, not much is known about him. We hear a lot about other disciples, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Turiyananda, Swami Brahmananda. So much is known. We don't hear much about this Elder Gopal. In the Gospel, is known as Elder Gopal, not as Swami Advaitananda. So he was serving Sri Ramakrishna silently. Whatever Sri Ramakrishna wanted, he would anticipate and do it before being asked, like Latu Maharaj. He was there all the time, staying with Sri Ramakrishna, but nobody much cared, or not noticed much by people. He keep a low profile. Service. I told the story of Totakacharya, Shankaracharya. By serving, he got Brahmajnana. So, as a service, we can do all our activities. As an offering, as a servant, serving the Lord, as an instrument, they can do all our activities. But at the higher stage, when we get Brahmajnana, then we can say, I'm not doing anything at all. Action is happening, but I have no kartratva, no notion of doership. Action is happening. That is, these all the various things we can do. Okay, if you have questions about 8 and 9, you can ask me at the end of the class. Now we go to sloka number 10. This is extension of the same idea, dedicating all actions to God. That idea comes many times in the Gita. 9th chapter also it comes. Whatever we do mentally, not physically, mentally dedicating all actions to God as my offering. Whatever action it is, small, all don't have to be big, small things that we do, offering to God, mentally only. That is explained in the 10th verse. ब्रह्मण्यादाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन padmapatramivambhasa. Nice example is given. Padmapatra means lotus leaf. That comes many places in Vedantic literature. Perfect example of our non-attachment. We should be like lotus leaf in our lives. So let us see verse number 10. Karmani, all action that we do. Brahmani adhaya. Brahman. Brahman means here Ishwar, personal God. In the commentary, Shankara says Brahmani means Ishware, personal God. Any aspect of God whom you are worshipping as your Ishtadevata, chosen ideal. If you are a devotee of Rama, dedicate all actions to Rama, doing as your service. If you are a devotee of Krishna, dedicate everything to Krishna, Sri Krishna, Pranamastu, like that, your choice. Brahmani sarvani karmani adaya, dedicating all actions to God. Sangam tyaktva, this phrase comes in so many places in the Gita. Actually, that is the essence of the whole message of Gita, Sangam tyaktva. Sri Ramakrishna explained the Sangam tyaktva in his own way. He was explaining the essence of Gita. What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? 700 slokas are there. What does it say? What does Gita say? What's the teaching of Gita? Answering that question, Sri Ramakrishna says, repeat the word Gita 10 times. Gita, Gita, Gita. What you will be saying? Ta Gita, Gita, Gita. Tyagi means one who renounces. Tyaga means renunciation, detachment. The whole essence of Gita can be explained in one word. Tyaga. Tyaga means renunciation, detachment. Sangam tyaktva. Sangha means attachment, giving up sangha to everything. Attachment to property, my house, my money. House is there in my name, but it is not. It's mine. It's temporarily I'm the resident, that is all. Attachment, detachment to karma. I'm the doer, but I'm not attached to the karma. Sangha, attachment to relationships, we should give up. My child, I can say in conversation, my Rama, my Hari, but in my mind, no, they are not my children. I'm the biological parent, but they are given to me for some time to do my duty because I desire to have children, and eventually they'll go their ways, not attached to them. As the maid servant says, my Rama, my Hari, my house, my garden, my kitchen, but she knows none of them belongs to her. That you read in the gospel. So like this, giving up attachment to everything. Eventually giving up attachment to the body and mind also. Highest detachment. I'm saying my body, actually I'm saying I am referring to the body as I just say ignorance. I can say my body, separating myself from the body. But still has the mind, that mind is there. That also has to go. The body is something different. I am the Atman. I don't have any possession. Atman does not have anything which we call mind. No possession for Atman. So that is the highest knowledge. But until then, we can say my body, my house, my child, my money. But we should know none of them belongs to me. There's nothing that I call mine. I gave you this example several times. It may be boring to hear it again. But I will say, my room in this Vedanta center, Swami Atmagyan just given a nice room to me. I refer to it as my room. It's not my room. I refer to it as my room. How else can I refer to it? But I know it is not mine. In the same way, we can say my Rama, my Hari, my work, my job, my money, my family, my son, mine. We can say that, but inwardly we should know nothing belongs to me. I'm totally detached. That is Sangam Tyaktva. Brahmanyadaya karmani Sangam Tyaktva karoti yaha. A person who performs all work giving up attachment to karma, karma phala. Not expecting anything in return for the work. Saha, such a person, papena nalipyate, he never becomes tainted by sin. That means never becomes affected by the result of action. Gives a nice example. Padmapatra mevambasa. Ambas means water. Ambas means water. Padmapatra means lotus leaf. Padma means lotus. Patra means leaf. Like a lotus leaf is in water. It lives in water. Lotus leaf. Or water falls on the lotus leaf, but does not stick to it. It rolls away. It does not become wet, though it is in water. So we should live in the world like a lotus leaf. That example comes many times. We live in the world. Where can we go? We have to live with the family or ashrama members. Somebody will be there. Even if we live alone, some neighbors will be there, other people will be there. So we are surrounded by people, surrounded by things, whatever furniture, book, clothes we have, we all those things are there. We can't throw them away. All these things, but we should remain totally unattached with all of these things. Like a lotus leaf remains unattached, unaffected by water, though it lives in water. We should live in the world, but not be attached to the world. Sangam Tyaktva. That's the whole essence of Gita, being of attachment. One idea only, detachment in the essence of Gita. So such a person remains totally free, unaffected by karma phala. All their activities are unselfish activities, and then they don't expect anything by way of reward or recognition or anything. They don't even want people to know that they're doing this work. Silently, without being known or noticed, they do their work for other people. Such are the yogis. And then in the commentary, Shankara says, again, Bhritya samarthyam swamyartham sarvani karmani. Swami artham, for the sake of the master. Not for my sake, for the sake of my Lord, for God. God is my master. So everything I do is for God. So in a personal way, how to practice it? I can tell you how it can be practiced where I live here. Supposing I go to the bookstore, you all see in the bookstore, and I notice that somebody has used a book and put it aside near the window on a chair. I notice that one. Then what do? I take the book and place it where it belongs in the bookstore. That work is done. Now in this work, my attitude should be, this is Sri Ramakrishna's place. He is my Lord, Swamyartham. So I am doing this as a service to serve him. This is my service. Very humble service, not a great deal. What is the big deal in putting a book in the proper place? But small activity. But my attitude must be, I'm doing it as a service of the Lord. That attitude only we have to change. Everything I do is for service of the Lord. Swamyartham. And he says, Bhritya eva, as a servant, Swamyartham sarvani karmani, and without expecting anything. And he says, in the commentary, Shankara says, Mokshepi phale sangam tektva. I don't even want any benefit from even moksha, I don't want. Left to him. That is the highest degree of non-attachment, not expecting anything at all from God. Out of sheer love, pure love, we should do everything as a servant does everything for the master. He is my master, he is the Prabhu. Lord. That attitude is easy to cultivate, not difficult. You cannot do that one. So that is this verse number 10. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena padmapatramivambhasa. Then you can ask a question. Then why should you do any action? If you don't expect anything from it, why should you do any action? The answer is given in the commentary. He says, Kevalam sattva shuddhi matrameva phalam. The result is mind becomes pure. Purity of mind is the only result. Mind becomes pure from attachment, pure from desire for fame. Mind becomes pure from pride that I'm doing this great deed. All those impurities will go away. Mind becomes free. That is the result. Sattva Shuddhi matram eva phalam. Sattva Shuddhi means purity of mind. That is the result for doing any work. That will come again in the later in this. Actually, next verse it will come. Why we should do any work at all? Not for any benefit, but for achieving purity of mind. That is the only result that comes. Purity of mind. So we go to verse number 11. Here Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, why we should do any work at all. The reason why we should do any work is, if your work is done properly, mind becomes pure, sattva shuddhi, chitta shuddhi, which is a prerequisite for realization, moksha. That is the only reason why we should do work, not for any reward or benefit or anything else. That is explained in verse number 11. Let us do shloka number 11. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये. Yogi kayena manasa vacha. These are the instruments through which we work. Kaya means body, physical body. Manasa, mind. Main instrument for work is the mind. Buddhya, using the intellect, right and wrong, etc. Kevalar indriyairapi, using sense organs. Sense organs are definitely involved in any work. There are some work items of work where no sense organ is involved. Can you think of some work where no sense organ is involved? Thinking. Mind is involved. Hands are free, hands are not doing anything, feet are not doing anything, eyes are not seeing anything, ears are not hearing anything, but I am thinking. Good thought, bad thought. So that is also activity. Manasa, that mental activity also is included. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalar indriyairepi yogineha karma kurvanti. Yogis perform their work. We all do use the same instruments. But what is the motivation for a yogi to perform any work? Two things. Sangam Tyaktva. Sangam Tyaktva comes so many places in the Gita. Sangam Tyaktva, event of attachment to karma, karma phala. Why? What is the motivation? Atma Shuddhaye. Atma here means mind, for the purity, for achieving purity of mind. Karma is the means by which mind can be made pure. Karma can also be used to make the mind more impure. See, karma is like I gave the example of a key, old style lock. You put the key and turn it one way, it locks, turn it the other way, it opens. Karma is like that. You do the karma, same karma does not change, only one key is there. Do it in the right way, mind becomes pure. Do it in the wrong way, mind becomes more attached and more selfishness, more greed will come. The karma did not change. The way in which we do karma, the attitude with which you do karma, that is where we have to make change. Sangam Tyaktva. Remember the keyword Sangam Tyaktva. Will come again and again in the Gita, so many things. That came for the first time, Sangam Tyaktva. I like to emphasize the phrase Sangam Tyaktva because it is the key to whole Gita. Came for the first time in second chapter. You may remember. You have to please go back and review old verses periodically, otherwise you will forget them. Where it came for the first time, second chapter, shloka number 48. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. He said Sangam Tyaktva, giving attachment there 48. Then so many times came and again it came in shloka number 10, shloka number 11 also. So Sri Krishna is fond of that Sargam Tattva, because that is the whole essence of Gita, giving up attachment to everything. So in verse number 11, Yoginaha karma kurvanti. Yogis perform action using their body, mind, sense organs like we all do. How? Sangam Tattva, giving up attachment. Why? Atma Shuddhaye, for purification of mind, not with any other motive. You all perform action sometime, generally some motive is there. I want to gain this, like that one. But in the yogi's mind, there is no such selfish motive. Does it, he or she does it. So we giving up attachment, dedicating everything to God, not expecting anything. What happens? Purity of mind will come. Atma Shuddhi. Sattva Shuddhi will come. That is the reason. So those are the nice, easy version, not difficult. These ideas have come before, they will come again. Now we go to verse number 12. Two types of people are described here in this sloka number 12, depending upon how they do their work. Everybody does work, but there are two major categories of people. Some people do this way, some people do the other way. So they are described here in verse number 12. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate. Two kinds of people. First kind of people are yuktaha, one who has practiced yoga. Yuktaha means one who has practiced any kind of yoga. Here, context, it is karma yoga. How does such a person work? The yogi, karma phalam tyaktva, giving up attachment to karma phala. Some result will come, but that is not the main reason why I'm working. I'm not asking why, what is in this work for me? That question is not in my mind. I do it for the well-being of all, and some benefit will definitely come because I'm included in all. For example, somebody does cooking to feed everybody. Everybody includes the person who does the cooking also. That benefit will come, but not only for me, for others. Like a mother cooks in the house, not for herself, for everybody. But she will also get the food. In everybody, she is included. So we don't have to emphasize the me. So here, karma phalam tyaktva, what does such a person achieve by doing that work without attachment to karma phala? Naishtikim shantim apnoti. Nishtha means firm commitment to some ideal. Here the firm commitment is to the ideal of unselfishness, non-attachment. Shantim apnoti. Supreme peace will come to such a person when a person does all work without attachment to karma phala. Karma phalam tyaktva. Supreme peace will come, Shanti. Here actually in the commentary, Shanti interpreted by Shankara is moksha. He says, Shanti moksha khyam apnoti. Performing action without attachment to karma phala eventually leads to liberation, moksha, through the step of purity of mind. That is how important it is to practice detachment to from karma phala. One category of people, yukta. As opposed to this, in the second line, the other category of people are described. Ayuktaha, a person who is not practicing yoga, not practicing detachment, kama karena, desirous of the fruit of action. The other person has no desire for fruit of action. This person has kama karena means, I want to benefit from this work. I want to make this much profit. I want to gain so much fame. I want to get this higher position. Therefore, I am doing this extra work. Kama karena. Such people who are attached to fruit of action expect some benefit from their action. Ayukta, such a person, kama karena, phale saktaha, becomes attached to karma phala. What happens? The result is nibadhyate, becomes bound in the world, to the world. Karma, karma. What happens to the first person? Shanti mapnoti, naistikim shanti, achieves supreme peace and liberation. What happens to a person who wants result from action attached to karma phala? Alesakto nibadhyate, becomes bound in the cycle of karma, karma phala, birth and rebirth. See, two kinds of people, opposite kinds of people. So we have to belong to the first category, strive to be the first category. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva shanti mapnoti naistikim. Supreme peace will come if you perform all our actions without attachment to karma, karma phala, dedicating everything to God. Anything that we do, I'm offering it to the Lord as my humble offering. Not that He wants, but I become free from attachment by giving up, offering everything to God. It's not difficult. It's only a change in the thinking. Work need not every same work can continue. No need to change anything. But attitude, I'm doing it as an offering. May the Lord be pleased by this. I'm doing it everything as perfectly as worship. One thing that we have to notice here is a very small point, but very important point. When we do any action, small action, it has to be done perfectly. Yoga Karma Kaushalam came in the second chapter. Perfectly means three things have to be noticed when you do any work. It may be a small thing like making a cup of tea for somebody, not a big deal. Three things have to be kept in mind. First thing is efficiency. Kaushala means efficiency. Without wasting time, material, and resources, and doing it very efficiently, effectively, efficiently. Efficiency, one aspect. Anything that we do must be done efficiently. It may be vacuuming the floor, it may be folding the laundry, it may be something big project done efficiently. One thing. Second thing is anything that we do must improve the inner environment, our mind. I must become a better person by performing this action. I must become more unselfish. I must become more peaceful. I must become less selfish. All those qualities in me must happen. I must become a better person by doing this work nice way. If I do the work sloppily, I'll become a worse person. My inner environment must improve by doing some work. Second thing, I must become a better person by doing this work. Third thing that we have to notice, keep in mind when you do some work is the external environment must be enhanced. The place where we work is done must be a better place. Supposing, I think I gave the example before. Supposing I go to the kitchen to drink a cup of water. I can do two things. I can drink the water and keep the cup there in the sink and walk away. Or I can wash the cup which I used and notice that another person left another used cup. I wash that also and leave the kitchen. In one case, I leave the kitchen in a worse condition than it was when I entered by adding one more unwashed cup to it. In the second type, I leave the kitchen in a better place than it was when I entered because I washed the other unused cup also, but somebody had left. So the external environment must be improved. I must leave the place a better place than when I entered. Maybe a kitchen, it may be a bathroom, it may be a bedroom, it may be a temple. Wherever we go, when we leave it, it must be a better place than it was when I entered. All these are implications of work. Then work will become like worship. I give another small example. In the book, God Lived With Them, from Chaitananda's book, which has biographies of the 16 disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. There, in the life of Swami Turiyananda, this small incident happened. I think he was in California. He was doing classes every day, and a small group of devotees were there, all Americans. There were no NRIs in that time. So they were taking notes. One lady, Ida Ansel, she was taking notes of Swamiji's lecture, Swami Tiriyananda's lectures. So one day when the class began, her pencil was not sharpened properly. So she took a knife and tried to sharpen the pencil. But she was not doing it properly. And Swamiji noticed it, Swami Tiriyananda. He took the knife and the pencil from her hand, and then he very carefully, very nicely sharpened it beautifully. He did it himself and gave it back to her. And then he said to her, he said to Ida Ansel, whenever you do any work, you must do it so well and you must dedicate it to the Divine Mother. He said like this. Whenever you do any work, sharpening pencil is not a very big deal, an ordinary activity. Whatever activity it is, do it as an offering to Divine Mother. Nicely, you should do it efficiently. He said to her, if you want to read more about this, I'll give the page number. The book is God Lived with Them, page number 376. On that page, on the left side page, on the bottom, you see how Swami Turiyananda taught his disciples to do every small thing nicely, efficiently, and dedicated to Divine Mother, he said. That is the gist of yoga, essence of yoga. Why, if you ask me what is the benefit of doing this one? Purity of mind. And Shanti Moptan in Naishtakim. Supreme peace will come by doing the work nicely and dedicating it to God. Shanti means moksha, liberation will come. You don't have to go to forest and give up everything and meditate and God 20 hours a day for moksha. Just whatever work we are doing, sweeping the floor or cooking, cleaning, whatever we are doing, do it nicely, perfectly, without attachment, without expecting any visibility or fame, and then dedicate it to the Divine God. That's all we have to do. It's not a difficult path. Meditation, Jnana Yoga, all those are difficult. I'm not, but I'm Brahman. It is very difficult to do those things. But anybody can do. See, Sri Krishna makes it so practical. Gita is a Yoga Shastra, practical. There is philosophy, but the practical part is very important. In day-to-day life, in our activities, we can apply these things. That's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. Not only philosophy, how can I do my work, small little items of work that I do every day in such a way that it leads me to peace and joy and purity of mind. Okay, then we go to verse number 13. Same idea. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. Another very nice verse. Same idea, dedicating everything to God. That idea comes many times. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. Manasa means mentally. Mentally only we can dedicate to God. Physically, how can we dedicate anything to God? Mentally. Then saying in my mind, I'm doing it as an offering to God, doing it in the best way I can, offering it to Him. I don't want anything from it. Please accept this as my humble offering. That mental mindset we have to have. Manasa sarva karmani sanyasya. Mentally dedicating all actions to whom? Brahmani, in the previous verse. Brahmanyadaya karmani. Ishvara, to God, your chosen idea. Dedicating. Sukham vashi aste. Sukham means happily sits vashi with controlled sense organs. Vashi is translated as jitendriya in the commentary. Controlling all the sense organs, not letting the sense organs roam here and there. Sanyasya, so manasa sanyasya, mentally dedicating all actions to God. Sukham vashi aste, a person, yogi sits down. Aste means remains calm, sits down. How does he sit down? In a nice simile is given here. Navadvare pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karyan. Navadvara means 9-gated city. Pura means city. This body is compared to a city with 9 gates. In Kathopanishad, similarly, there is called 11 gates are there. Ek Puram Ekadashadvaram, like this. Ekadashadvara, 11 gates are listed in Kathopanishad. 9 gates are listed in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the city? This body is the city. Body, mind is a city. Who sits there? Dehi, the indwelling spirit, the self. Navadvare Pure. What are the 9 gates? Here he says, 7 gates are in the head. What are 7 gates? Through which all information comes to the mind. 2 eyes, 2 ears, how many? 4, mouth, 5, and 2 nostrils, 7. All information comes through these 7 gates. Smell, sight, taste, and sound, etc. Then 2 more are there, and the lower part in the body. 1 for excretion, 1 for evacuation. 1 for excretion, 1 for urination. The 2 outward ports, outlets. 7, 9. 7 plus 9, 2, 9. Navadvare Pure Dehi. Now, what is the meaning of this sitting in a 9-gated city? That means this body is not me. I am the indweller. The body is only a house in which I live. If I live in a house, I don't call the house as me. I'm not the house. I'm the indweller. I separate myself from the house in which I live. Similarly, this body is a dwelling place, house where I live. I'm not the body. I'm not the room in which I live. How absurd it is for me to say I'm the room in which I live. Nobody says that. So, but we say I'm the body, it means I'm the room, I'm the house. That is the ignorance. Here we should separate ourselves from the body mind. That is the idea of saying Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karyan. I should separate myself from the body mind, which is only a residence, temporary residence, not a permanent residence. This house in which I live is only good for some time. One day I have to vacate the house. My house will become useless. I have to vacate it, no matter how much I am attached to it. So that time will come. So I have detachment. I'm not the body mind. I'm the indwelling spirit. That is why the body mind is compared to a city in which a person lives. Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvan na Karyan. There is no agency. I'm neither doing something or causing somebody to do something. Work is happening through the body, mind, sense organs, but I'm the indweller. Work is happening at the body, mind, sense organs. I'm not the body, mind, sense organs. I'm the indweller. Action is happening, but I'm not the doer. The example is given to teach us separation from the body, mind, and separation from the activity. I'm not the doer. Work is happening at the body, mind, sense organ, sense object level, none of which I am. I'm the indweller. I'm free from action, free from fruit of action. I have no kartartva, I have no bhoktartva. To inculcate that separation, the detachment, this example is given here as an indwelling spirit in the body, as a house, a city. Navadvare Pure Dehi. How much time is there? No, it's almost time. 1 to 2 hours. Okay, we'll stop here. If you have questions, you can ask me now. You have about 3-4 minutes left.
Maharaj? Maharaj, so my doubt is this, like enlightened souls, they don't identify themselves with the ego, but they have, where do they get that level of willpower that they have, Maharaj? Like they have such tremendous willpower. So, yeah, Maharaj, like what is, yes, Maharaj.
Where will they get the willpower? What did you?
I thought like that willpower, right? Like, for example, I want to do something, so I'm doing it, But then like, yeah, so enlightened souls in, I mean, I think it is my misunderstanding, Maharaj, but you you can see that they have like tremendous willpower, much more than people who are not enlightened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they do have more willpower, definitely, yes.
isn't willpower a function of the ego?
Willpower is something that you can cultivate. It's a faculty of the mind, a strong uh, adherence to certain principles. I want to do this way, and I'm not going to break the rule. No temptation, not yielding to any temptation. I do the thing in the right way. Although my mind says, no, let me do it in a simpler way, let me postpone it tomorrow. My mind says, no, right now it's the right time. I have to do it now. That's willpower. Insisting on doing the right thing at the right time. Not yielding to, a mind says, let me do it tomorrow. Not yielding to that. That power we can cultivate. Swami Vivekananda has a small booklet, How to Cultivate Willpower, a small booklet. That there he says one should develop willpower, and that is the key to success in any worldly life and spiritual life also.
Urmila ji has a question.
Yeah. Namaste, Swamiji. There is a Karam Yogi and then a general yogi. Can you tell me the fine difference between a yogi and a Karam Yogi? Because in the book, sometimes they use the word Karam Yogi and sometimes a yogi. And so I want to be sure.
Yoga in general means any kind of spiritual practice which takes us to God. Yoga means combining us, uniting us with God. Different ways are there. Some people do bhakti yoga, devotional practices, prayer and doing japa, doing worship, or bhakti yoga. They do that one. Some people do this karma yoga, doing all activities of worship as offering. And some people do jnana yoga. I'm not the body, mind, I'm Brahman, I'm meditating on my true nature. So whichever way a person does, the qualities, the paths are different, but the goal is the same. They all reach the same goal. So here, yogi means it can be generally in the context. He's still speaking about karma yoga here, but it applies to all yogas. Whatever he says applies to all yogas.
Okay. Okay.
Doing small thing as a very small thing as worship applies to bhakti yogis also, jnana yogis also, or karma yogis also. It applies to everybody, all these principles, general principles, but the context seems to be in the karma yoga context.
In this chapter.
This previous chapter also.
Yeah. That I just, after reading so many Sanskrit and English, and then I wanted to be. Okay. Thank you.
Swamiji, can I give a follow-up to what Ram Gopal ji asked?
Ram Gopal?
This Ram Gopal Chandrasekhar. The one who asked it.
Oh, yeah, that previous question. Yeah.
For the willpower question that he asked, my personal experience is, if you sit there and try to control your mind and want to do this and that, it's really impossible. But if you turn it into love for God, automatically you will start doing it. That's my 2 cents. Like, it's not like I want to read this, I want to read that. If I say I want to be associated with God's stories, God's puja, God's paranam and all, like if love will make you do it. If you try to force your mind, it's very hard. That's my experience,
Swamiji.
Swamiji.
It becomes easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, just my experience, Swamiji.
Yeah, if you put love into everything becomes easier and more enjoyable. There's no, I have to do this discipline. That is not there.
That's very hard. Yeah,
very good idea.
There's a story also. They say that Swamiji's, when people go to Swamiji and say, I want to become the president of America, how should I do? Then one Swamiji says, okay, make sure you will become, but make sure you don't, when you keep praying, keep meditating, but make sure you don't think of a dog or something. So when the guy sits for meditation, even before he starts praying, I want to become president, he keeps saying, I hope I won't get think of the dog. I hope I won't think of the dog. And finally he'll leave the idea. So if you want to try to control your mind, it's like, it's really hard. But if you turn it into love for God, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, love makes everything easier and more enjoyable, more natural. More natural. Yeah.
Actually, Swamiji, the reason I had asked that question was because in chapter 6, the verse about control the self using the self, I think there is a verse like that. And
Yes.
there, the commentary was the ego acted upon and the ego acting upon the former, something like that. So I was a little bit confused about I think that was where I was coming from, Swamiji. But I really thanks a lot.
That verse number 5 in chapter 6 says, Uddhared Atmanatmanam. By one's own self, one has to lift oneself up. That means by using one part of the mind, other part of the mind has to be lifted up. Has to be. Mind is the instrument, mind is the object, both. So by one's own self, one has to lift oneself up. Atmana Atmanam Uddharet. That is the sloka. There is no other external agency that can improve me. I have to improve myself. Somebody else cannot make me a better person. I have to make myself a better person. You can seek help, guidance, etc., but effort has to be my own. Okay. Anything else, or time to say the closing prayer?
I think, Swami, we should do that now. The closing prayer.
Please say it again.
Yeah, I think we can do closing
Okay.
prayer, because I don't think there's any question unless somebody's still thinking about it. So we can say closing prayer.
Closing prayer. Okay. Yeah. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May all be happy. May all be free from suffering, diseases, and other problems. May all understand and practice what is right, dharmic, and proper. May no one be subject to any kind of suffering. Om peace. May there be peace in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.